Coming to you from an undisclosed location, somewhere deep in the heart of the Santa Monica Mountains, I'm your intrepid host, L.A. Marzulli. Welcome to a show. We're going to be talking about Argentina's secret Nazi files. Nothing to see here. Absolutely nothing. Don't worry about it. Go back to sleep. I don't think so. Some of us have been following this for years, and they leach it out because all the Nazis are pretty much dead. So who cares? We care. Because if they're doing it then, are they doing it now? What are they keeping from the American public? What are they keeping from the peoples of the world? Anyway, we'll get into that. First, a word from our very trusted sponsor, Noble Gold. New numbers out of Washington show inflation is on the rise. Again, another threat to you, your savings account, and your retirement. Ask yourself an honest question. Does your dollar go as far as it did 10 years ago? Well, folks, that's easy. Obviously not. What about 5 years ago? Again, another easy question. Definitely not. Or even last year? So, what does the next decade look like for you and your savings? If your portfolio lacks exposure to gold, one of history's most reliable economic hedges, maybe it's time to rethink your strategy. Gold has kept up with inflation and in many periods outpaced it. My friends, and they are my friends, at Noble Gold Investments specialize in helping people protect their wealth with physical gold and silver. Whether you're rolling over an IRA or making a direct purchase, their team walks you through the entire process and makes it simple. No pressure, just education and experience. Right now, all new qualified accounts will receive a free 10th ounce American Gold Eagle as a thank you. Folks, visit noblegoldinvestments.com, noblegoldinvestments.com. Check it out. We invested, and I got to tell you, I'm really glad we did. Right now, gold is hovering around $5,300. It's close to that. It hasn't crossed the 5,300 mark yet, but I think it will. Some people are predicting as high as $6,000 an ounce. It might go higher. It might go lower. There's always a risk. Consult, your financial people before you invest, but we invested, and I'm really glad we did. NobleGoldInvestments.com, NobleGoldInvestments.com. This is really an interesting delayed justice. Argentina's secret Nazi files expose costly inaction in pursuit of war criminals. Well, look, before you even get into this, why didn't anybody do this 80 years ago? Right? Something like that, whatever it is, right? The rat lines. The Vatican is involved in this. That's why they call them the rat lines, smuggling Nazis out of Europe. So let's get into this. I've been following this stuff for years. Absolutely for years. And there was a show on the History Channel called Hunting Hitler. I watched every single episode. Really well done. Bully for you guys. Hats off to you. And in my opinion, Hitler did not die in the bunker. That's all there is to it. It was a double. He flew out. Apparently they had, and this is amazing to see, but they had this ace pilot. And, the Russians are closing it. Everything's bombed out. And this, I think it's a woman pilot, if I'm not mistaken. So they get Hitler and possibly Eva Braun out of the bunker, and they meet. And she's basically on a city street type of a deal. It's not like an airfield. And they pile into this thing, and she's like an ace pilot. And she gets them out of Berlin, and they land in someplace else, and then they finally make their way to Spain, where they're there for a while, because Spain was neutral in the war, right? And then they hop on a U-boat, and the U-boat, don't cry for me, Argentina, and here we are. So let's get into this. And look, we know that Mengele was in South America for years. And I believe the CIA knew about Mengele being there. There was correspondence between Mengele and his relatives back in Europe. The Angel of Death. This is the guy that stood at Auschwitz and would go like this. So when you came off the train, if you pointed this way, you were in a labor camp where you die anyway. This way, you went right to the gas chamber. Can you even imagine? You want to talk about hell on earth? That's it. Argentina's cache of declassified files tracking Nazi criminals who fled to South America after World War II offers new insight into how the country handled war criminals living or suspected to be there, including Adolf Eichmann and Walter Cushman. Now, I'm sort of a student of the Holocaust, an amateur, obviously. I've never heard of Walter Cushman, so this is new for me too. They show Argentina's shifting attitude towards Nazi criminals. Well, believe for that. From sluggish responses to efforts to prevent foreign intelligence operations on its soil, such as the 1960 Mossad abduction of Adolf Eichmann, to how others were never caught, vanished, or died without ever facing justice. So the Mossad um, got got intel on Eichmann, and I mean the way they got him. If you've never read that, it's just incredible. So Eichmann's living in South America, in Argentina, and the Mossad know where he lives, and they set this whole thing up, and they get him, and they hustle him out of the country, and then he's in Israel in a glass booth, bulletproof, and I mean, it's intense stuff. This guy was, I mean, I, it is what it is. Cushman was an SS and Gestapo officer based in Lwów region in Poland. He played a direct role in the killings of more than 1,500 Polish Jews, intellectuals, and civilians. He also implicated. He is also implicated in the mass murders carried out by the. I'm not even going to try to read that. Einsatzgruppen in regions that are not part of Ukraine. And here he is here. You can see that. Walter Cushman is pictured during World War II, and he was a lieutenant in the German SS in Poland. Cushman later escaped to Argentina under the cover as a monk. Anything to do with the Vatican rat lines? I don't know. But the rat lines are real. And the Vatican is implicated in it. Of course, you don't hear a word about that anywhere. What can I tell you? Witness accounts describe Cushman publicly shooting an 18-year-old Jewish maid in the head after accusing her of transmitting a venerable disease after allegedly her. There's got to be a special place for some of these people. That's all I'll say. The published Argentine files revealed a detailed paper trail of intelligence gathering, diplomatic communications, and survivor advocacy surrounding Cushman, who entered Argentina pretending to be a monk and lived in the country openly for decades under the alias Pedro Ricardo Olmo. He eventually became a naturalized Argentine citizen under his false name. A large portion of the dossier focused on communications from 1975, when survivor groups and foreign authorities intensified efforts to locate Nazi fugitives. So let's do the math here. So, 1950 to 1975. So that's what? 50, right? 60. So you got 10 years there. So that's what? 25 years? So you got 30 years from 1945 to 1975, right? It's not that long. And Nazi fugitives were still there. A telegram sent in July 75 from Jewish survivor organizations warned officials, including Argentine then President Isabel de Perón, don't cry for me, Argentina, that Cushman was living in the country and was wanted by West German judicial authorities. The message emphasized that survivors viewed his continued freedom as deeply troubling, especially given Argentina's reputation as a refugee for many displaced persons after the war. The telegram made specific and public allegations that Cushman entered Argentina under a false identity and had concealed his Nazi past when obtaining citizenship. Given Argentina's sensitivities, after several embarrassing cases were publicized, it appeared to have troubled authorities who feared further poor publicity over its lax policing standards. The telegram sent to Argentina Minister of the Interior from the president of Jewish Association of the Survivors of Nazi Persecution in July 1975 noted in part that the association wanted to inform it that residing in Argentina for many years is the naturalized Argentine citizen Pedro Ricardo Olmo, alias the Nazi war criminal Walter Cushman, former second lieutenant of the SS security troops who was wanted. And so this is what's interesting right here. This is great. A police officer stands in front of a cache of Nazi artifacts discovered in 2017 during a press conference in Buenos Aires, Argentina. Argentine authorities found the cache in the course of a wider investigation into artwork of suspicious origin found at a gallery in Buenos Aires. Look, there's no doubt. There's a clip. I wish I could find it. In fact, hold on, John. Let me just see if I can pull that up on YouTube. So I'm showing a clip from YouTube. This is in Argentina. So this is a funeral. Just watch what happens. So this is a hearse, obviously. They're bringing in the casket. So there's the church. And I think this is where it starts to get interesting right here. There you go. Right there. And this is the one I saw. Watch this. Here it comes again. Just watch again. And just so you know, it's the AP archive, and it was from 1984. And this is what we're looking at. So, I mean, it's just kind of hard to believe. This was in Santiago, Chile. So it's not that far from Argentina. The bottom line is they're in South America. There's no doubt about that. So let's continue the article here. For us survivors of a Nazi massacre who have managed to save ourselves and reach this generous land, it causes anguish that a Nazi criminal can move freely in our country. The telegram sent from Jose Moskowitz added, "We respectfully request that the minister adopt the necessary measures in the case against the said Cushman, who entered the country under a false name and committed perjury in obtaining Argentine citizenship, concealing his extremely serious background. Following the new revelation, surveillance of Cushman received more attention from the authorities." So let's continue. It's just unbelievable. Official July 2nd, 1975 telegram from the Association of Survivors of Nazi Persecution to Argentina's Interior Minister. So there it is right there. Let's continue. And of course, this is Joseph Mengele talking about it. So let's go down here. Cushman could have been the first Nazi fugitive handed over for international justice by Argentina. However, while his extradition case was being examined, he remained interned in a local hospital due to his ill health. In 1986, he died of a heart attack. So there you go. It's just unbelievable. After the war, Eichmann escaped to Argentina using the rat lines and a false identity. He established himself north of Buenos Aires under the alias Ricardo Clement and lived on a ranch with his family, who kept using the Eichmann surname. He also worked for various German companies, including Mercedes-Benz, and was helped by the other German nationals who either knew his true identity or were Nazi sympathizers. Hold on. And this is the whole thing right there. You see Clement, Ricardo Clement right there, and there's Eichmann. The declassified files and press reports suggest the Argentine president at the time, Arturo Frondizi, was enraged and embarrassed by what he deemed a violation of Argentina's sovereignty by Israel, because Israel came in and they got Eichmann and got him out of there. So that was the end of it. Let me go back up here. In 1916, a daring operation carried out by Israelis Mossad agents secretly abducted Eichmann from Argentine soil and flew him to stand trial in Jerusalem, where he was ultimately sentenced to death in 1961 after being found guilty of war crimes and crimes against humanity. He was executed in 1962. His body was cremated, and the remains scattered in the sea outside Israel. So that's Eichmann. There's a whole film on this, The Man in the Glass Booth. The Man in the Glass Booth. And there he is right there. Amazing. Adolf Eichmann in a bulletproof cabin puts on earphones to hear the reading of the act of accusation against him. He was charged of the extermination of Jews in Poland and then organized the deportation and extermination of Jews in 13 European countries. So that's it. The rat lines did exist. There's a movie called The Boys from Brazil. I mean, we've touched on it. We've seen films on it. Nazis did escape. Do I believe Hitler escaped? If you have not seen the History Channel, Hunting Hitler, it's a great series. Check it out. Did they find the body? No, they didn't find the body. But will they ever find the body? I do not believe that Hitler committed suicide. I don't believe that for a second. Anyway, I think that's sort of a departure from what we usually do here, but I just found that interesting because this is how the game is played. And the people that were involved in all of this, many of them have never been brought to justice. What about the rat lines? What about the people who were directly involved in taking these war criminals from Nazi Germany and moving them out of Europe and down into South America? Shame on them. Shame on them. That's it for today, folks. It definitely a departure from what we do, and I understand that, but I just, as a sort of an amateur student of World War II, how Nazi Germany and the Holocaust, how that even happened. You know, there are people today that deny the Holocaust, that come up with numbers. Well, it really wasn't 6 million. It was only like maybe a couple 100,000, really. Entire villages were wiped out. Don't ever forget that. I have pictures. That were sent to me by a woman whose grandfather was embedded with Ike Eisenhower, and they liberated one of the camps. And I've shown that from time to time. So there you go. Anyway, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. I always close now the show by giving you an invitation. Because if you think you know Jesus, but you don't know Jesus, then guess what? You don't know Jesus. It's not religion. There was a person recently, I'm not religious, L.A. Well, I go, well, I'm not either. I'm not religious. I remember I was on George Norrie's show, Coast to Coast, a while back, and George said, L.A., I don't understand it. You're not religious. I go, well, thank you, George. That's a compliment. I'm not religious. I never want to become religious. I have a relationship with the King of the universe who saved my soul 46 years ago this June. How do you get to know him? Well, if you think you know him, but you don't know him, then you don't know him. It's real simple. Then you don't know him. How do you get to know him? Well, you confess with your mouth Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead. That's the Shroud of Turin right there. God did raise him from the dead. That's it. And if you do that, the Holy Spirit will enter in your life. You will become born again. And the Holy Spirit will lead you and guide you in all truths. Your life will never be the same. He loves you. He died for you. Ask him in today. We'll see you again tomorrow. God bless.